Ha.
Okay, now we have a fourth guest.
Yeah, I'm trying something new, a service
Okay.
called Fathom. It's one of those AI note taker kinds of apps, but it also produces a nice video. So two birds, one stone is a good stone to bird ratio. So we don't have a community guest to talk about how they use TaskWarrior this morning. So I was wondering if we could pick a topic or two from the Discord channel and try to answer one that I wasn't able to. Would you be okay with that?
Sure. So if I can answer this question, I mean, if it's TaskWarrior related, I'm more or less out, but happy to help.
So the question I was looking at was in the help wanted section, and it describes trying to set up a context with a tag that has a hashtag in it. And I could duplicate the issue, but I couldn't find a fix for it.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, where is that? Well, the result is that it's as if you had typed plus work instead of plus hash work, right?
Well, the tags that are tagged with plus hash work aren't showing up.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a hunch where this comes from, as TaskWarrior and TimeWarrior at least share a lot of common code when it comes to reading the RC file, and I think the tags are also stored there, and I think the hash is used as a comment. So whenever you start something with a hash in there, the next time it's read, it's just like, oh, that's a comment and phased out. That might be a reason. So yeah,
that would make sense. I think that makes a lot of sense, because even in a typical programming language, you can't use a backslash to in the chat. He shows it escape for the backslash, but that won't work in Python or any other language either. That the comment character outside of a string will always become a comment. So maybe there's some other way to type that in the config file that would need to be used there.
Yeah. So I know from TimeWarrior there's a similar issue that, to use tags with hyphens in there, because I think also the hyphens are somehow used as separation characters when it's to read, and yeah. So my workaround is just not to use tags with these special characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, and yeah, it's still on my list to tackle these, but yeah, it's very deep in the core of the programs there.
What if you would double quote the string, like the whole string?
I don't think that works in the RC files.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think the problem is you can double quote it and it's okay for the shell. But as soon as it's inside the application, and I think there's no difference between TimeWarrior and TaskWarrior here, it's the quotes are removed, and it does not. I think the problem, or yeah, it's somehow that the escaping is not done in the RC file somehow.
Could you write a hook to rewrite, like the hash work is coming from an automated job of some kind. And so could you could you write a hook that would rewrite the tag without the hash? Or once the hash is in there, you can't find it?
Hard to know without trying it, but that sounds like it would be possible. If you can express the hashtag on the command line, then you could do that. You could write, modify plus. I guess you'd filter for the one with the hashtag, modify it to remove the hashtag and add the unhashed version. But if you can't express that hashtag character on the command line, then that wouldn't work. But if the task got in there, it must have come in through the command line, so you must be able to express it on the command line. So I think that would work. That would be a workaround. I think one way to debug this is to use task show to look at the configuration, and then see, because that'll show what TaskWarrior has parsed the configuration as, and then brought it back up onto the terminal. So if that ends after the plus or something like that, that would suggest that this hypothesis about comments is correct. But it might give some other hint if that's not the case. It might give another hint as to how TaskWarrior is interpreting that string in the config file.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cool. Well, thank you. That was super helpful for me. I will pass along that wisdom and see where we get to.
Sounds good. So in terms of work that's been going on in TaskWarrior, we've had a couple good first bugs done by what's the name? Gagan Konana has done two or three now pull requests, fixing some good first bugs and diving into the C++ and making some fixes there. So that's been great. Those are usually little annoyances for users that had a relatively limited fix. That's how we categorize a good first bug. So I've been happy to see that. And Ryan Everett and I have been working on exposing operations from Task Champion, which will give us the task history. The task info will show what has changed on that task in the past. And I thought I had a way to do that, and then it turned out I got most of it implemented and realized because of the way sync works, you're going to have different sets of operations on different replicas. So trying to come up with a way to fix that has been difficult from sort of theoretical reasons. But I think I've got that figured out again, and I'm ready to proceed, but it's still not done. But that will be the next Task Champion release. We'll have that new functionality, and then we'll incorporate that into TaskWarrior and fix task info so that it has that history information. That's all I know of.
Really great.
Oh, did we all just hold still there, or did we freeze? I'm sorry.
I think we all just held still.
Okay. That's been a really interesting project from a kind of theoretical implementation perspective. In the operation have kind of a formal underpinning to them in the way we're doing the sync so that we know that it's correct. And there was a risk of either making that incorrect and having sort of subtle bugs with sync, or just not getting the information we needed out of them. So that's been an interesting thing to discuss, and Ryan has been following along and helping me think through that. That's all I got.
That sounds excellent. And coming up the next 2 weeks, anything interesting?
I would hope we can finish that in Task Champion and then work on merging that into TaskWarrior. The second part maybe asking a lot of 2 weeks. And there's also something planned for version 3.2 is to make the undo report more human readable. So right now it's just sort of spewing a bunch of operations that are very low level. And in the 2x phase, it used to have pretty human readable things to say the task was started at this time and that this tag was added at this time. So that's a step. It sounds like it's related, but actually entirely separate from what the work we're doing right now. It would be nice to have that get done, but it's a fairly substantial amount of code to write just because there's a lot of things that can happen to a task. So that's marked a good first issue because all of those pieces of code are relatively straightforward, right? It's the started field gets a value, that means the task was started. And, it's just a bunch of extends like that. But it would be nice to have that happen. I don't know that anyone's planning on working on that, but I think that would be some functionality that people would really like, which is ready to be worked on now. And we'd be happy to, the developers would be happy to help anyone that wanted to work on that.
Well, that sounds terrific. Thomas, anything from you? What's TimeWarrior working on these days?
Not much, unfortunately. I've been focusing on working my way out the rabbit hole that is the web pages and holy data. So for the web pages, it's more or less done. Matt has I think more or less now officially taken over and doing a pretty good job here as far as I can see. And there's also this other guy, Sebastian Carlos, who has done some improvements on the webpage as well. Yeah, I'm really happy to that I could let go here and other people are taking over. Yeah, so I've now tried to close some pull requests on holy data as well. There two have been opened recently, but somehow, well, it's I think a general issue on this project. People request a new locale or add some holidays, and well, more or less whenever you come with the first review on the pull request, it somehow dies. Don't know whether I'm too harsh on the comments. I don't think so, but somehow yeah, the momentum quickly stops. Yeah, but in a way, I've been working down there on a small automation steps to make the publishing of the data, the web page, a little bit more automated, so less manual labor involved. Which means, so for example, I've now implemented a cron job that it will be that the next data for the next year will be published on the 1st of August. Before, I more or less held it back because, for example, Spain publishes its work labor calendar where they have their dates up to date, I think in the end of October. So Spain is not up to date at this point, but I somehow thought, okay, let's just do this and fix it afterwards. And other people then already have their calendar data ready and available. Yeah. So regarding TimeWarrior, yeah, I've merged one pull request by Scott McDermott, or actually two. The one was for shared, which may also affect TaskWarrior. There's this ease of work week start, which is now configurable between 0 and 1, so you can have your work start on Sunday or on Monday now. There was also a companion pull request for that with TimeWarrior because I had some code duplicated because of, yeah, there was another issue where I had some the state parsing modified. And it was at that time a little bit easier for me just to duplicate the classes from libshared, or let's say, add some extra classes and keep them in TimeWarrior and not merge them back. So yeah, for the future plans, yeah, I hope now to re-enter the TimeWarrior project a bit more, not just managing pull requests, but actually doing coding again and yeah, doing most of it. It's all of this. I have to find time next to normal work for that. So yeah, picking some topics here. For example, this merging back this time parsing stuff into libshared, or there are also some issues coming up or some topics I wanted to work on regarding the command line parsing, but yeah, I have to see. It's unfortunately a little bit stalling right now there.
So regarding the Holly data and the pull request, do you ask for people to register as maintainers? Do you get any other contact information for them?
Well, in a way, yes. I've put something on the web page, but I haven't done the whole advertising tour through all the social media there is. So
maybe that's not the question I was asking. The thing I was leading to was if you could early in a pull request get a contact information for someone, an email address, that might be a way to go to send a private email to them to say thank you so much for submitting this Singapore information, and sort of make a personal connection there. And then if they do fail to respond, you have a way to contact them and a previous interaction with them to base on, rather than just pinging on GitHub and they might be deleting all their GitHub mail.
Yeah, I could try that. So, but
I know I'm suggesting extra work, just an idea.
Yeah, it's clear. But the other thing I've also tried that once with the email address that was so the pull requests are mostly signed, or I think yeah, also for holidays. So for TimeWarrior, they have to be signed. So for the TCO, but I think we do not really check whether the email address is somehow valid or active. So I also tried to contact some guy here via this email address and didn't get any response. But yeah, really, I think to push this project before, I have to put in a little bit more effort and try to gather people around. Yeah. But yeah, it sounds somehow a little bit stupid, but you have to find the time for that and also maintain it. And often I think like pushing a car, it's always hard to get the car rolling, but as soon as it is rolling, it's getting easier. But yeah, you have to get over this first hump first, and sometimes it seems too heavy.
Yeah,
but
I understand. Activation energy. Regarding the libshared change, if I update the version of libshared that TaskWarrior uses, is there an API change that will make it clear what I need to do to use the new functionality? Will I get a compiler error that says this is what you need to update?
I don't think so, that you got a compiler error, because it only changes, or it adds, I think it's a minor change, so it should not be breaking. I have to look up the pull request data. I can also send it to you, so you can check for yourself.
I'll put an issue in TaskWarrior to take care of it.
There's my Firefox. I think the RC configuration value that is involved should more or less, well, it's default to 0, and that's, I think, work starts on Sunday. The work week starts on Sunday. So for previous users, it should be no changes. And if you want, they can then change that. Just check. Coming unprepared to a meeting.
When you get a chance, if you can send some info to me.
I just found it. Okay. So the week starts on Sunday. So it's this daytime week start variable. And okay, currently the value of daytime week start is set in libshare, does not change any of the behavior, but it's set to 0 or 1. So more, this has been now activated. And so there's this, the new ISO 861 behavior for the daytime week start 1 will be a break change for users relying on existing weekday parsing. This is unavoidable. However, if user wants to set once week start equals 0, the old behavior is still possible. If TaskWarrior TimeWarrior modified to set week start before lib shared calls, which I currently do not. TaskWarrior could this propagate its RC week start value used only for a task calendar so far and propagate this value to lib shared, for example. Okay, so I guess you might have to do some adaptations. Yeah, but I think if it's true that it's only used in task calendar, then the impact I think is a bit limited. So they only see the calendar shifted, maybe if you do not change anything. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how TaskWarrior handles it when it's not set or how it is set. It might be that the default value, if it's does not get any input from outside, is the previous one. So
okay, I can check it out.
But it could be a surprise for some people who have already set it and well thought, okay, this is the way to go, maybe. But yeah.
Great. I made an issue. We'll figure it out. Thank you.
Well, that all sounds great. Thank you so much, Thomas.
You're welcome.
That's all I had planned.